former WEC, former multiple-time UFC champion, the great Dominick Cruz. Always a pleasure, always a privilege, always an honor when Dominick Cruz joins us. Dom, how are you, sir?
What's up, Ariel?
Good to talk to you,
man.
You love the sort of the faded out background. You're very mysterious.
Well, I'm always doing something.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm in a car. Does anybody want to see the back of my truck? Not really. I don't think so.
That's fine. You're a very busy guy. I appreciate the time. Dom, I want to ask you about a lot of things, but we've been having a very interesting show today focused on open scoring and judging and things of that nature. I am strongly in favor of open scoring. We just had the great Andy Foster of the California State Athletic Commission on the program. We had Shannon Knapp. We had a fighter named Ally Quinta who was anti-open scoring. But I feel very strongly that the fighters should have the knowledge of where they stand in these important fights with so much at stake. What's so bad about having this knowledge, about informing them where they stand going into these final rounds? How do you feel about open scoring? Are you in favor of it or not?
I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I don't think that there's a wrong or right thing to what they're choosing. I think there's just a deeper root issue of them moving things around. It's like, the best way I could explain it is if you got a living room and you want to make it look different, do you buy new furniture and hire a designer, or do you just move the furniture to different places? This kind of seems to me as we're just moving the furniture around. It's not really the root issue at hand.
What is the root issue in your opinion?
It's, to me, the system, you can redo the system as many times as you want, but it's still the same players in the system. So, like I said, it's the same living room you had before. You just move things around. So what's really changing? It's the same thing. So when you look at open scoring versus what we used to use, it's like who's choosing in each state the judges and the referees. That would be the commissioner of each state, right? Mm-hmm. So what makes the commissioner know mixed martial arts so well that he can choose these people? Who chooses that person? And how did he get there to choose what's best for us as athletes in mixed martial arts? How does he know? Who told him who to pick and how and why? Well, I mean, we know from years and years of boxing that it's trickling in from boxing. So what relationships have been built in boxing are now coming over to mixed martial arts, which is okay. I mean, it's what we have, but it doesn't change. I don't think that's really the root issue. The root issue is, how do we get educated? Do they do a grounding and a debrief after every event on the things that went well, on the things that went bad? Is that, firefighters, I know a firefighter who's been a firefighter for 20 plus years, and they still do IV classes for these firefighters every single time there's an issue. If there's a breakdown, they're always moving things around. And even though he's doing the IV the same way he did it 20 years ago, there's still so many nuances to doing IVs in different ways and different educations and different things to learn. How many of these things are happening in the commission? For an example, they have a meeting. The commission set up a meeting for us announcers on the scoring system. Well, who's setting up the meeting for the commissioner on what a takedown is? Who's setting up the meeting for the commissioner on choosing people that know what a takedown is, that know what it feels like to get hit with a calf kick compared to a high kick? And, in my era, calf kicks didn't exist other than Benson Henderson. Now it's one of the most used techniques in the sport. I've had to feel that feeling to know you got about 3 to 5 of those kicks before the muscle and the nerve pretty much shuts down. How many of these judges know that feeling, know that after you get taken down 5 times by Khabib number 7, even though he didn't do any damage, it took 7 takedowns to get that dude down. How tired is that guy? They've never been in that position. They don't know how miserable that is. Now, this is always the argument, but it just comes down to education. Now, the next step, let's say we educate them, and let's say they've been doing everything perfect. The judges and the commission, they're doing everything the best way they could, and it's just a broken system, let's say. Let's say it never gets better. Let's say it stays questioning and like this forever. Well, what would we do then? Would we just give up and say, well, I guess it's just going to be a broken system? I mean, if you think about it, how many times has Dana White said, do not leave it to the judges? They're incompetent. They will ruin your career. Well, what are we doing with that? If it never changes, are we just going to be on the back burner as fighters for the rest of our lives in this career because nothing's shifting? Or can the UFC itself really make a difference? When you really get down to it, what are we complaining about? We're complaining about the pay of the athlete that they lose according to bad judging. So how do we get that out of the equation of hurting the athlete due to the failed system of the commission? Well, I think you can start advocating for flat fees instead of win show bonuses. Holly Holm lost half of her money. And, how many times has Dana White given somebody who has lost their win and show money? Well, why can't we just make that a normal thing so that now the commission has no power over ruining our careers with their bad decision and their lack of knowledge, if that's what it is that's going on, and pay us a flat fee. And then if the commission messes up, you just book a rematch. Nobody loses.
Okay, so I agree with a lot of the things you just said. 100%, everyone should be getting a flat fee in the UFC. I mean, you make it to the UFC, you deserve to know what you're getting paid. 1,000%. I do think that the thing these are all, some of them are big changes. If you guys just knew, based on what was at stake, if you just knew where you stood going into these second, third, fourth, fifth rounds, I just want the fighters to have as much knowledge and power as possible, because quite frankly, Dom, I feel like you guys have less and less power and knowledge over the years. They keep stripping things away from you, from sponsorship to who's walking out with what, all this stuff. There's less and less power in the hands of the fighters. And so at the very least, if you know where you stand going into these fights and you know how a judge or judges are scoring a fight, you could at least adapt what you are doing out there. You know what I'm saying? That's why I feel like I'm 100% looking out here for the best interest of the fighter. I feel like you guys deserve to know where you stand, because if you lose, if you get quote unquote robbed, half your pay. You go all the way down the ladder. You don't get that title shot or that number one. There's so much at stake here. At the very least, shouldn't you know where you stand?
Well, who's to say that we know where we stand because the judges put their let's say
I'm
the
not saying
judges
if
did
they're
it all
competent or not. I'm just saying based on who we have tomorrow scoring, like right now, at the very least, you can know what you need to do or where you stand going into the fifth round, the fourth round, the third round, right?
How can you know that if the judging is incompetent and they don't know what scoring is?
Yes, of course.
You can't know that.
I'm not saying open scoring. I'm not saying open scoring fixes judging. I'm just saying at the very least, if these guys are incompetent, you could know that they're incompetent while you're fighting, as opposed to after the fact.
Yeah, but so let's say I know that they're incompetent for 3 rounds, and now I know I have 2 rounds with incompetent judges. How am I going to get them to be competent the last 2 rounds just because I'm punching harder or shooting more? They're still not going to be competent. They still don't know if I'm winning or not.
Well, at least
they don't know the rules.
They're deciding, though. Ultimately, they're deciding, good or bad. They're deciding. They're the ones there.
They're still deciding. They're still deciding. Even if I know on an open, their names are already put next to their judging now. Now they're kind of held a little accountable because of that. You can go online and see who judged for what. So that's up there. Accountability is a huge thing. I get that. But realistically, if I'm fighting a fight, let's say I'm fighting you and I beat you down for 3 rounds and they give the 3 rounds to you, what am I going to change in 4 and 5 if I've already been winning and I know it?
Well, maybe then you have to change.
What's going to change?
You got to freaking hit that home run,
I'm
right?
winning.
Well, not according to them. But you're not. But
we're all trying to hit a home run, Ariel. Any fighter who goes into these fights saying, I'm not trying to finish is full of shit. I guarantee you every fighter on earth is trying to finish, including me. But every single year, the athletic abilities of these athletes is not harder. It's just improved. People are transforming. People are educated the way you're saying. People are getting better coaching. People are getting better tools. There's online courses. There's amateur MMA. People are walking in as pros 0-0 with 17 to 20 amateur fights. That's not 0-0. That's a whole different sport that we're walking into these days. So what it comes down to is getting these judges and the commissioner to pick people who are educated, educating the commissioner who chooses these people, finding out what allows him to tick and choose these people. Is it money or is it actually like real education? Because when you pick a firefighter, you know these people have been educated. We trust that when this person comes and takes care of you, that they've been educated. We don't go, well, who taught you how to put this IV in? We just trust. Well, how do we do that? How do we create that kind of trust with the athlete and the commissioner to pick the judging and the judge and the refs for us? Well, we get to be involved. We get to choose. We get to vote. We get to have something to say other than the commissioner who's in politics, who's never fought in his life, saying, yeah, these are the people that are competent for these mixed martial arts athletes. I think that's the root issue, is educating the system. They're just very uneducated, in my opinion, because they're coming from boxing and it's a new sport. It's natural. But then on another note, let's say of 1,000 judging, let's say of 1,000 times that judges have done this sport, how many times have they gotten it right? And we're not keeping track of that. We're only picking out the things that suck, just like we do in mixed martial art fighters' career. You only remember their losses. You never remember the amazing things that they've done until their career is over and you go back and go, wow, that person was special. Well, you know, how many times has the judges done something right? And we're not saying, great job, great job, great job, great job, great job, 99 times. And then the last 2 that they completely flunk, we just point those out. That's the other thing. I mean, there's a lot to this, Ariel, and it comes down to education. And when it really gets to the root of it, we're just upset that the fighters are getting the worst end of the deal on the money. So if we create a flat fee, then all the failures of the commission goes out the door.
Yeah, well, but you see, then that's a promotional thing. The commission has nothing to do with the money, and the UFC isn't changing that anytime soon. I mean, there's a lot mixed in together here.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So is it commission or is it the money that we're
I just think
about?
Knowledge is power. So, like, to your point, I just want as transparent of a fight as possible. You mentioned that seminar that you guys are doing for the broadcasters. I think it's a great idea. Are you okay with this? Like, are you happy to take part in this, or is this annoying to you?
Knowledge is power. You said it. I can always learn something new. I'm a beginner's mindset in every single thing I go into, because if you come in with something, then there's no space for new things. If I come in with my head full of everything I already know, that's not coming from a masterful place. A masterful place is coming from a blank slate, beginner's mindset, taking the information, digest what you need to, and leave behind what you don't. But don't come in here thinking you know everything before you start, because that's not really truly being in any kind of possibility or willing to learn.
I'm happy you said that. I actually feel like they should have done this a long time ago. Basically, since they changed the rules in 2017, they modified the unified rules. And I would argue that the fighters and coaches should take part in these seminars so that they know how fights are being scored as well. What do you think of that?
I think it does educate us. That is the knowledge and the power that will help us to really understand what the commissioner is thinking with these rules when he puts the judges and the referees in place. Yeah, of course that helps us. I think what also helps is the commissioner taking some responsibility and going to an MMA class. How about you go get your ass beat around the cage for a little while, and we'll call that you doing your part too, and feel what it really feels like, what we really go through. Just practice it, feel it, because you got guys like Jason Herzog who's practicing every day. He's one of the most competent, best refs in the sport, in my opinion. He knows what it feels. I've grappled with this guy. He knows what it feels like to get choked. He knows what it feels like to be exhausted to where you can't get up, and that's why you're losing, not because you got beat up. He knows those feelings. And when the commissioners and the judges, all the judges and all the referees have felt those positions, I believe we'll have an idea of what's going on. I do believe that a lot of the boxing judges have felt that, and that's why they know what they're doing in boxing. It's not the case in MMA, and education and feel is really what's going to support us.
Okay, so we could debate this forever, but you don't have forever. So let me ask you about your career. You're on a roll. The 35 division, I think, is maybe the best right now in the UFC. Everyone's jockeying for their spot. Sterling retained against Petr Yan. Could we start there for a second? Were you surprised that he beat Yan?
Surprise isn't the word. You know what Sterling can do because of his style. He's a specialist, essentially, kind of like you would say Damian Maia would be, or and maybe Gilbert in the beginning, but now he's transformed a lot. But he's a specialist. Like, Aljo has his own way to create wins. He kicks you, and when you force your way into boxing rings, he wrestles you. And if you can't grapple and you can't wrestle, you've got a hard fight on your hands with Sterling, no question. Not to mention, he cuts 1,000 pounds. The dude walks around 175 probably. So those are a few things that, I'm not surprised he won. I mean, is Petr Yan one of the nastiest dudes in the division? Of course.
What do you think about? It sounds like they're going in the direction of TJ versus Aljo for the next title fight. How do you feel about TJ getting a title shot? One win, one fight removed from the 2-year suspension, and a close fight as well against Corey Sandhagen last summer.
How do I feel? Well, I mean, he was suspended for cheating, so to get a shot after one win, Okay, cool. I mean, sounds like a hookup to me. He got 2 years off, didn't lose any really money, and then just gets right back up in. I mean, it's not like he had an easy fight. Sandhagen's no joke, but still one fight. I mean, Pedro Munoz, and all these other people that are in the division that have just been competing with, it's crazy. But I kind of get it, because when I was laid off for so long with my knee injuries, I came back, fought Mizugaki, blew my knee out again, and then came back and got a title shot. But I hadn't lost and I hadn't gotten in trouble for anything. I just blew my knees out. So it was a little different, and I got my shot that way. But it's showing me that what is dominant in each division is ticket sales and storyline. And the storyline of TJ Dillashaw, the fact that he cheated, isn't really in that. That, if anything, it makes people dislike him more, which will make people tune in. So I think that the storyline is more important for the UFC and anything else to sell tickets than who deserves what. I've said it a million times. Nobody really deserves anything in this sport. You get everything you earn. He fought Corey Sandhagen. He earned that. But I mean, that's pretty much my layout. It's like, I think that there's a lot of good fights you can make. To make that one, I guess so. But I don't. There's plenty of other fights you can make that you could give that opportunity to besides him. But obviously the storyline sells, so they're going with it.
So where does that leave you? Where are you right now?
That's a great question. I've told them dates. I'm ready to fight. Right now I'm at a point where I'm fighting for my legacy. I'm a multiple time world champion. The belt's important, but really going towards the belt just cements my legacy, and that's why it's important to go that direction, to be moving up, to be fighting the Jose Aldos, the Peter Yans, the TJ Dillashaw's, the Aljamain Sterlings, the Davashvilis that are right there at the top. Like, I'm not asking for like some kind of handout. I'm asking for some of the toughest dudes in the world. And when the date matches up, it'll happen. I think UFC offered me a date 1 month after my Pedro fight, 1 month. And I still had a bone bruise on my right ankle, and I was still healing some things from my feet from kicking and whatnot. So I didn't pick that date, but that locks me into a six-month contract where they don't really have to ask me if they don't want to. They don't have to book me. They don't have to do anything because they already asked me. But I never say no to opponents, Ariel. I say no to dates or yes to dates. I don't know who's saying what. I get called out every week. It's really important, that I focus on dates. Once I set the date, once I set the opponent, boom, we hit the races. But until then, I've done my whole career, as a world champion, worrying who's next, overtraining. That's how you get hurt. You got to keep it one fight at a time, one date at a time. And realistically, the date matters more than the opponent for anybody out there. It just does. Pick that date. And if you're the best in the world, it doesn't matter who they put there, you'll beat them. But you got to get that date. You got to be healthy and focused. And that's where I'm at. I'm open to fight. I want to fight. I just gave a list of all the guys that I'd like to fight in the top of the division. And hopefully Shelby will work something out. I'd love to be on a pay-per-view card and fight in front of fans and keep doing that. To fight at the Apex, I've done 5-round fights to main event there. Doesn't really interest me to carry the whole card at the Apex for where there's no fans and no extra money for 2 extra rounds. And I'd rather fight 3 rounds on a pay-per-view and go fight Peter Yan or one of these big names and keep moving. Like, let's go. I can fight for a title anytime. Let's go 5 rounds, let's go. But I mean, possibilities are endless. I know I can negotiate with Shelby at any time. He's really good. He's a really good guy, man. You just got to get a hold of him. Yeah. So when people say they talked to Shelby a million times, I know they're lying.
So what would
the dude's busy.
So if Shelby reaches out to you, say, all right, Dom, what's the date? You've earned this. You get to pick the date. What's the ideal date for you right now?
June, July, August, September.
Okay. So any one of those pay-per-views, there's one July 30th. It seems like the main card is set. Maybe August 20th would be the next one. That's the next pay-per-view date.
August 20th, and the one after would probably make most sense. It'd give me time. If it's 3 rounds, I could do it in July, but
sounds like the July is set anyway. So maybe August. So you want a pay-per-view in August, September, And is there a guy that makes the most sense to you or that gets you the most excited?
Well, yeah, I'd love to fight a Jan. Like Jan was a former champ right now. He's nasty. He's one of the best. And like I said, Aldo, Davashvili, just somebody above me, man. Like it's not like I'm asking some kind of weird thing. I just want somebody just to keep moving up and facing the best guys in the division. Dillashaw, give me him, Aljo. There's a lot of people, talking that aren't even in the division, that they're not even in the testing pool. And when some of those people come back, if they actually make it through the testing pool, rematches can happen for me. I like that. There's a lot of opportunities here.
Are you referring to Henry Cejudo?
I'm referring to, people, anybody who's in that position, who's been out that comes back, that, Henry is the one right now that I would love a rematch with because of the way that the last fight went. But, he's jockeying for his position at the top two, similar to what Dillashaw's doing. And you notice the way they work Dillashaw, why wouldn't they work Henry in a similar way? It wouldn't surprise me, because he retired, stayed safe, got out of the testing pool, and now he gets to come back and just jump right in. So hopefully maybe they'll give me him to welcome him back to the division and I get to smash him around the cage. And then that would be great.
You mentioned a lot of people and credit to you. A lot of people, no one mentions Merab, by the way. Like I never hear his name mentioned. He might be one of the toughest, if not the toughest, but he doesn't have the name. So kudos to you for that. I'd be remiss if I don't mention one name that you didn't mention, and that's Marlon Vera, who has been very open about wanting to fight you and has said some things about you turning down fights against him and whatnot. Are you open to fighting Marlon?
I'm open to fighting him, yeah. But what I'm hearing now is like he wants somebody. What's funny is he's talked all this trash about me from what I'm hearing, but I don't really pay attention to people calling me out. I'm sorry that people calling me out doesn't affect me. Like I said, I focus on dates. So I don't say no to fights. I don't know where he's getting this idea that I do. I say no to dates. Opponents don't really matter because you're going to have to fight everybody to get to championship anyways. So if he thinks I said no to dates, okay. That's between him and his manager. Whatever his manager's telling him is what he's going to believe. But I'm not opposed to that. What's funny is I did hear him say he wants somebody in the top 5 or top 4. So why would he ask for those if it didn't matter? If moving up the ladder didn't matter, then why would you ask for somebody above you, not underneath you in the division like he's done? Well, same reason I have, same reason the rest of us all have. We're all fighting in a bracket to be the champion. So yeah, I'm not opposed to it. He's ranked above me now too.
Right.
So sure.
So
let's get the date.
Yeah. So if they said August 20th, it's you, Marlon, you're okay with that. Not that I have any information, but I just want to make that clear that you're not opposed to fighting him. It's more about the date.
It's more about the date. I'm not opposed to fighting him, no. Especially, he's looked good. He's done great things for himself. He lost to Aldo, and I don't think he takes enough responsibility for that. He blames everybody else for not giving him these shots, but you had your shot and you lost. You had your, so I had my shot. It didn't go my way. And what did I do? I've been on prelims the past 2 fights. Did I complain? No, I just fight and you just keep going.
I read that you said that you really see a path to maybe becoming champion by the end of this year. If things could go.
Well, by the end of this year, I don't know, because they're not moving me fast. There would have to be, I would have said that earlier in the year. We're already halfway through the year and the date hasn't been matched up. Okay. I haven't had a date matched up. So to fight 2 times, I don't know. Unless somebody gets hurt and a bunch of things, the cards shift in a weird way. I don't know how many fights I would have to have till I get the title shot, but I know that I'm right there in the running.
Right.
And I'm moving up. That's why I want to go up,
It doesn't feel like a stretch to say things go your way this time next year. You're either about to fight for the belt or have already just fought for the belt, right?
Yeah. I would hope so. Like I said, we don't know what's going on with the decisions of the matchmakers, right?
Sure.
We can just ask for dates and pray.
Yeah. And I know you're there sometimes and it's easy for you guys, but could we be done with the Apex events? I mean, it was nice for a while, but every time an Apex event comes on, I feel like a bit of my soul dies as a viewer.
Yeah, I think it's harder on the athletes than anybody because, they're main eventing a card. A lot of the guys are main eventing a card that a lot of, there's not a ton of people tuning in. That's a lot of responsibility for these main eventers on these small cards. Not getting paid anymore. No fans, 5 rounds. What, you get 20 G's more? Does anybody really know what 10 minutes of fighting actually means? I don't think they do.
One last thing before I let you go. I saw a clip recently. We've seen a lot of fighters throw out first pitches at baseball games. The vast majority of them have been real clunkers. I mean, I'm not going to call anyone out here, but I mean, really.
Why not? Call them out.
I mean,
suck it up, Ariel. Let's go.
I mean, Connor's first pitch, one of the all-time worst in the history.
Not a surprise.
Why not a surprise?
Well, first of all, he's a lefty. That's already a challenge. Second of all, they play soccer, and don't they? Isn't that what they do overseas? They play a lot of soccer and other stuff. They don't throw baseball. That's an American sport. We're Americans over here.
Fair. Okay, fine. Fair. I mean, we've seen some Americans throw some really bad. 50 Cent threw about. You, not that long ago, were at a San Diego Padres game at Petco Park, and this is the footage. We still have you, Dom? This is the foot. Look at that. I mean, not only are you on the mound, you are throwing a heater there. Down the middle, strike. Here I am giving Dom his flowers, and he's nowhere to be found. I'd love to go to Petco Park, by the way. Looks like a beautiful stadium. Dom, you there, or did I lose you? For the warrior within, hears your words and is lessened by them. Oh, there he is. Oh, I don't hear you.
That's the last thing I heard.
Oh, yeah. No, we were just showing your first pitch, Dom, and it was a heater down the middle, strike. And not only that, some people throw those, they're not on the mound. You were on the mound, which is tough. Kudos to you. I think you didn't get enough credit for this.
I mean, people, what's funny is that people I was looking at it, thinking about it. Like, if you get it to the mound, you don't make news, nothing happens. If you flunk it, if you fail it,
as well. Sorry.
If you, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I was saying if you miss the ball, then you get thrown off Sports Center. If you make it, nothing happens. So they're almost encouraging you to suck so that you get some coverage.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So it's pretty interesting. But yeah, I think you're right. It's not easy to make it. It's pretty cool to do it. It's a great opportunity. I love the Padres. I do a lot with them with Deep End Fitness and the stuff in the underwater torpedo league stuff.
Oh.
I cross-train I got to cross-train with Tatis, the pitchers.
Wow.
I get to do a lot with it. It's an awesome thing. They cross-train in the pool, and they're incredible athletes. It's so cool to get to cross-train with them. And I used to pitch when I was a kid in elementary school. I was a pitcher. I was a center fielder, and I was a shortstop. I played soccer. I played basketball. I played every sport. So I'm an athlete, whether people know it or not.
Okay, so I was wondering did you practice on the mound though before you threw that out? Did you have any chance to practice?
I went to Jeremy Stevens' house, and his daughters play softball, and I threw to them for a while for like 30
Smart.
minutes before I went in. I got to be prepared. I don't do anything without being prepared, Ariel.
That's the thing. I feel like a lot of people don't practice beforehand. It's a little bit different. You're elevated. You see, that's what separates you. By the way, Tatis, cool guy?
Yeah, he's very quiet.
Okay.
He's just quiet. He doesn't say much. There's not much there. He's just silent, gets his work done, and he's a freak athlete. Man, with this pitcher and them, they can hold their breath. I was watching them hold their breath for like 4 minutes underwater.
Jeez. Wow.
I was shocked. I like their mental capacity, these baseball players, to just like shut things out is different. It really is different.
They have one starting pitcher, Blake Snell. He's a huge MMA fan. I don't know if you had a chance to work with him. He's really good.
Yeah.
He's a big fan.
Yeah. He has not been to the underwater fitness stuff yet, but I'm sure he will because Prime Hall runs it. What it is, it's a bunch of military, like special forces guys that started an underwater thing where you can like cross train, and there's a bunch of science behind it, helps you level out your mind, reset your body. But they cross train, the Padres cross train with them, some big basketball players. So I go over there, and it just really helps out. Deep End Fitness, if anybody's curious on some good resets too on your body, mentally and physically.
I mean, we were literally seconds away here. What happened?
Here he is.
Okay, here he is.
I'm sorry about that, man. My phone overheated and shut me down.
Golly, I just wanted to say bye. I was literally going to say, you're the man. I've taken up too much of your time. Thank you for everything. It's always great to pick your brain. And I can't end, like, no one can, that was like an Irish goodbye. Like, you can't end the conversation.
Yeah. Oh, the irony. Talking about McGregor with the Irish goodbye.
That's right.
Huh?
That's
right.
right.
On the mound.
That's right.
Yeah, it's been great. I love always doing your show. Thank you for the opportunity to speak out. You always
Anytime.
give a good platform for all us fighters, man. You're the
Thank
best.
you, Dom. Thank you. Talk to you soon. All the best.
See you guys.
All right, there he is, the great Dominick Cruz, the Dominator, the former WEC Bantamweight champion, the former UFC Bantamweight champion, the former multiple-time UFC Bantamweight champion.